Hey, we will continue now with the part 6 of the Sicilian variation. So e4, c5, and then move pawn b3. The Czerniak or Czerniak attack. Let's understand what's the main idea here. White wants to play the move some control over the central squares and of course affect the king side, the g7 square, let's say as much as possible. And the cons are that this can be a waste of time. Plus, it's not the fastest way to fight for the center for the development. Sometimes the move b3 is completely unnecessary. There are different ways to play as black. One of them is the move pawn to d6. I'm not going to discuss this one in the video. After bishop to b2, immediate knight f6. The captures we can take with the pawn, and then fianchetto or bishop to g7, eventually push f5 to open up this bishop, because his bishop is gone. Or we can take with the g pawn. This is an interesting idea as well. Open the g file for the rook, g7, f5 as well. But after queen h5, we can have some issues, maybe big issues on the king side, because it's going to be quite hard to do the short castle without further repercussions. I'm going to advise for the move knight c6. This move is quite interesting. And after bishop b2, we can try d6. e5 is an interesting approach as well. But I don't want to show what's our plan is there yet. Remember that in some positions we need to be very straightforward. We need to try to play, the harshest moves that we want to conquer or to get a counterplay or to be faster than our opponent. But there are positions where we need to be more like sly, sneaky, flexible, and this can be one of them. The move pawn to d6. White is going to try to do the same thing as well. Let's try to understand the best plans for white. If they play the move like knight c3 or pawn d3, it's going to be a bit slower, g3, which will lead to some type of close Sicilian. Not the best way for white, because they will not affect the central position much. I want to talk about the three moves that can primarily affect the game in the center. The move bishop b5, we will talk about this later in the end of the video. Knight f3, we will do it now. And the move pawn to f4. Let's start with the move knight f3. The main idea is to take under control these two squares. But we will see that later on, the main plan for white. So using that fact that the white can't do the move f4 right now, we can play the move e5. We will fight for the center, we will close his bishop. f4 is not possible. The cons is that our bishop is closed, but we don't play chess only from our side. One advice, which is a bit out, of the opening part, later on we will talk about this during our strategical lessons, is that whenever you play chess, don't just say, my position is good. You need to try to understand, is it better or is it worse? Because you play against somebody else. You need to try to compare all the criteria, all the important positional, strategical aspects or dynamic aspects in the position with your opponent's position as well. So that's why if our bishop is closed, his bishop is closed as well. So it's more or less equal. If white's going to play the move bishop c4, we can do the move bishop e7. Another interesting, cool move is pawn g6. This is seen a lot in some King's Indian positions, sometimes in the English opening, which would play like from the black side now after short castle, bishop g7, knight c3, knight e7. We call it Botvinnik setup. The 6th world champion Mikhail Botvinnik did this exact same thing from white side. So it's like a mirror image. And then after short castle, we play the move a6, and then in order to play b5, bishop b6, but also it's a cool idea in such positions to try the move h6 at some point, king to h7, with the idea to play sudden f5. We'll talk about such positions much later in the other opening, variation sections or in some strategical lessons. The main idea is to push the pawns to grab more space and attack, even if our kings are on the same side. Usually we don't do that, but in this position it can work. If white doesn't capture, as I said, we will advance, f4, pawn to g5. If he takes, we have d5 to get the bishop, but even if we'll just capture like this and then push d5, it's f4, pawn e4, so it's going to be a very cool position, for black. So the other move, as I said, is the move bishop to e7, more like a calm way, and then knight f6, knight c3, short castle, h3 to try to not allow the move bishop to g4, and I like this move bishop e6. Immediate a6, a4, bishop e6 is quite cool too, so we will try to fight for the d5 square. If our opponent doesn't know about the open files and captures thinking that, oh, I gave him the double pawns, remember such double pawns where they're connected to the other pawns, it's like a pawn chain, they're pretty strong because they will play knight d4, bringing the rooks, doubling them up. But if you can, remember about the biggest streamer now, so who is extremely famous and always says the rook. So Gotham Chess, of course, is phenomenal, great chess player, and of course great streamer as well. And just remember about it, remember about him, about this moment, and rook captures to f3. The main idea is to sacrifice the rook in order to open up white's king. Yeah, we lost 2 points, but look at king's position. We want to bring the queen to g6 and then eventually queen d2 checkmate. This knight can jump to d4 to help. And if king goes to h2, queen goes to bishop. But I think this is fine for us too. Then we play the move knight f6, immediately attacking the move e5, because we can analyze it with the stockfish, see that everything is cool over here, learn this variation, and just play. After the move pawn to e5, we just play knight d5. We don't capture the pawn yet. If white takes, knight f4 captures queen e7 check. I know this bishop will not get out yet, but now it's in a very scared position. The king should be scared. Next takes c5, we will take on e5 because we attacked it second time. A short castle, sacrificing the pawn. And then we have either a6 in order to play b5. Bishop g4 is interesting. Here e6, we will sacrifice, but then we will try to take here. And then, knight captures to e5. Now some 7, queen a5. Black's position is absolutely fine. If anywhere white does the move knight to d5, we're just going to play bishop g7, takes, pawn d3, short castle, and now all of a sudden white doesn't have a better development because they did 4-6 or space on the king side. This bishop is quite annoying on b2. White can later organize an attack, but we have 2 bishops. We have our game on the queen, castle, h6, king h7, f5 plan, or we just do bishop e7, develop, and then like the move bishop e6, exchanging these bishops, get a good control over the center, and then remember about the rook's sacrifice if it's going to work. This is a very typical idea. The most flexible approach for white, and I think the best, is bishop b5, and after bishop d7, we just develop our pieces. There can be tons of ways to play for both sides. Just remember the main setups. Like you can start, for example, with e6, then knight f6. So knight f6, pawn e6, bishop e7, castles, and usually white gives up this bishop. We will have 2 bishops, but we can have a better game on the king side. So it's, I would say, a bit sharp and double-edged, interesting playable position for both sides. So this is the Czerniak variation. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video series. So have a great day. See you.